original Romans were called Etruscans, and they was they migrated or got exiled out of Africa and crossed the Iberian Peninsula and settled Rome. Greece was settled by Egyptian priests who were also melanated.
Yeah, you talking about Cecil Rose. Cecil
Now,
Rose
Cecil
is the
Rhodes
man.
went into the
He carved up
Congo.
Africa. Yeah.
He went in. He went into the Rhodes Scholarship Plan. That was a plan to take over the Congo.
Mm-hmm.
He was under King Leopold. King Leopold is the one who was holding the Berlin Conference. If I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and double check that. I ain't sure on that one.
Right. But when I left off, I left talking about the blacks in Rome. So you was dealing with the whites in Rome first.
Yeah, because they whitewashed all of the original emperors. Of some of them, if you read their history, they tell you they came from Ethiopia,
Right.
right? They're telling you they was an Ethiopian Roman. That's the emperor. That's Ethiopia. Greek is Aethiops. They mean burnt face. So they had a burnt face person or a dark faced person that sat as the emperor over Rome. But then when they paint the picture of them, they Europeanize the picture in order to enforce the caste system by skin color. They want you to think all of the great people in the past was pale face.
How come nobody never talk about? I never heard none of y'all. No, none of y'all talk about the um, the Colosseums that they had in Africa. I always hear about the ones in Rome, but I don't hear about the ones that was in Africa.
I don't really deal with a lot of what's going on in Africa because I know we got Ibrahim Traore and them over there doing their thing. So I don't worry about Africa right now. I worry about where I'm from. Right. So I only bring up the history over there when it's directly weighing in on what's taking place over here. Right. The African Colosseums have no bearing on the invasion of the Americas. So I probably wasn't gonna never bring that up. Right. But at the same time, if it was a historical figure from taken from over here to fight in that African Coliseum, and then I might have to address that issue. Then I might be bringing it up. But other than that, I'm focused on what we call the reclamation of our homeland. Right. So that's why you probably won't hear me bring up the African Coliseums. You on mute, sir.
What emperors of our people? What roles did black individuals play in ancient Rome society?
They were statesmen, they were law writers, they were the people that was teaching the people that they would later prop up as emperors how to be the emperor, how to play the part, how to look the part, how to act the part. They call it the civilizing of Europe. I know you've heard it 1,000 times. We civilized Europe. That's what they talking about. The creation of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire conquered Greece, and then they used what they could from Greece, and they were a scholarly, artistic people, and they gave it to a warmongering group, right? So you got to go back to the story of Romulus and Remus, suckled from a wolf, right? So one of them was a scholar, and his brother was a warrior who he named Rome after. So they telling you what's taking place in what we call legend and folklore.
All right. Family, y'all ready for some questions? Y'all ready to come in and remember questions, man. Not debates, questions, y'all. Let's get. let y'all engage with the brother with some of these questions. All right. So without any, so he's going to be answering the questions, and the questions is going to be moving all over the place. So don't think it's him going all over the place because
I
I've
do
seen
that
that
sometimes
before.
too. I do that
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, it's
Sometimes
all
you may
good.
ask me a question, it might require me to draw information from several
Yes,
different
yes,
places, but yeah.
yeah. It's going to get deep in here. So, talk to the people. Let them know what you've been up to, man. How can they come and see you? What's up, man?
Man, I haven't been doing much. I had a funeral I just went to over the weekend. One of my cousins had passed away. And so I've been really laid back. And, that take the family off. Always, have to stutter stuff. Because we've been having, like, for the last 15 years since I've been home, we've been having family members dropping like flies, you know. So that takes its toll after a while. And you either gonna become totally despondent or you gonna become numb to the grief,
Right.
so I'm at the numb to the grief part now because I already went through when my mama went and my dad went a year later. I was totally despondent. I was still functional, but emotionally I was a wreck.
Wow. Yes, man. Well, only the strong survive this. You know that.
But it ain't for the faint of heart. The work that you do, side, the work that I do, the work Brother Rich do, Young Elder,
Hmm.
trying to get this positive, life changing information to our people.
Right.
And like a lot of the stuff that I see, other people that study the same materials didn't even see it. They
Right.
went even they it went right past them. But I don't know. I think that I had like a spiritual tutor that's a what they call a BMF. Shout out to
Hmm.
Big Meech, the chief to touchdown.
Hold up. Hold on. You saying Big Meats? He's free?
I got the report that he was released at 5 a.m. this morning.
How did they release him? I thought he had mad time.
Okay, so they gave him a time reduction first. That's supposed to have been 2025. But what you about to see, he ain't the only one about to be at home, and people mouth gonna be hanging on the ground because they're gonna be like, "Right, hey, said that stuff, but I thought he was crazy."
Wow,
A
man.
lot of the chiefs about to be coming home by before the end of the year because one, most of us don't know who the chiefs are because we lost track of our tribal traditions. A
Mm,
chief is responsible for a particular part of our community development. Big Meech's responsibility that he trained himself how to do is teach these youngsters how to live with wealth, right? And because that's the work he was doing, don't matter how he got the wealth, it matters that the good he served was more valuable to us than the means by which he was trained to learn how to handle wealth. The youngsters don't know how to handle wealth.
right,
They get a little bit of money, they want to kill each other, they want to, you
right.
know,
Oh,
take their money down to the club and make it rain. That's not good financial sense.
all right.
So he was teaching them when you got money, just because you got money, you can't just talk down to people because you might be down tomorrow and they up.
Hmm.
A lot of
True.
people get a little money and they feel like that money made them better than you.
Right.
But that's something that's fleeting and temporary. Love is eternal.
All right. So let me let the audience know real quick. Y'all might hear some stuff tonight that make you say, "Hmm, I never heard that before," because when we look at Ron and brothers like Bobby Hemmett and Phil Valentine, and y'all call that probably the dark side. What do you call it, brother Ron? What you call it? The information and the knowledge that you deal with.
It's esoteric.
Esoteric. Okay, there
That's
you go.
or you can call it a cult. But people commonly misinterpret a cult for cult.
Uh huh.
And cult has been given a negative connotation, never knowing that it's a root word.
Hmm.
It's the same root word to a cult as it is to culture, as it is to cultivate. At the root of all of those words is cult. And they
All right.
tell us that a cult is a wicked thing. Anything that we would be using to reconstitute tribes has been villainized by the system. We
Okay,
still
so
go
let
to
me get it
past.
off. Let me get you first with this first one. The first question I have for you is the number 13. What is the secret behind the number 13?
It's the 13th zodiacal seat. If you go to the Temple of Dendara in Kemet and you look, they have a stellar relief in the ceiling of the zodiac. And at the very center, there's the hippopotamus goddess with the alligator span. She's carrying a meat cleaver. That's Big Mama. Her name, Tawaret, right, which is the
Hmm.
oldest known deity ever on earth. The ancient Kemetic temple writings write that the first god was Tawaret, and she just so happened to be Big Mama, right? Big Mama is the embodiment of the universal creative force, right? She is what we call a chaos being emanating from triple darkness. And it was by leave of the great mother, Tawaret, that we have something called creation to express ourselves in individuality. The 13th zodiacal seat is the eye in the middle. Just the great mother who sits in the middle of the 12 signs of the zodiac. This is also the sacerdotal seat of earth. It's known as the Isis seat. And the Isis had 12 daughters that represents each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. So her seat is always the 13th seat. In the usurpation of the divine feminine, they try to villainize and make her evil and tell her that, or tell us that God is a man with this long stringy beard wearing a white robe. That's Obatala. He gonna always ride with Big Mama. And don't care who you think you is, when you go tell Big Papa, he gonna say, what Big Mama tell you? Right? Obatala has been whitewashed in the history books under the Norse tradition because the people who receive the information is obligated to adapt the teachings to their culture. And when they adapt the teachings to their culture, in the Norsemen, they prominent male figures got a long stringy beard. I don't know if you can call him Odin, you can call him Zeus. It don't matter what you call him. He, the great father, is going to always stand in protection and guardianship of the great mother. That's the difference in the masculine aspect of the ruler gods and the creative aspect of the creator god, which is the feminine.
But does the number 13 also deals with evil? You
That's
see the movies come out Friday the 13th,
mm-hmm.
stuff like that. They say
That's
this
the
is a bad luck
villainization.
day,
Yeah,
and you know,
that's the
and people.
villainization of it.
And then I remember growing up, my moms was so damn superstitious. Oh, you be careful out there. The day is Friday the 13th and all of that. So, yeah, talk to us.
So the energy, first of
Hmm.
all, Friday is Freya Day. Freya, going back to Norse mythology and European divinity, is the daughter called Venus, called Oshun in the Vadun culture. But you say I'm the only one in this community called an esoteric and arcane, the darkest house of consciousness. That might be why you call it dark. So the all of the dark stuff is given a negative connotation. All of the feminine stuff is given a negative connotation because they're trying to push an agenda. And now we to the point where the agenda don't work on us no more.
Hmm.
Right. And so when you see Bobby Hemmett, you see Dr. Valentine, you see the minister, right? You see Dr. Malachi. They are trying to tell us parts to the problem, and then The next generation, which is us, we come after them. Our job is to put the pieces together and tell the story so the people can understand it. There's nothing evil about the number 13. The only thing evil is the intent of the patriarchs who wanted to emasculate divinity, right? And usurp the divine feminine and replace it with a drag queen, Statue of Liberty, frame of reference. You think a Statue of Liberty is a man. I mean, a woman. The Statue of Liberty is Lucifer.
I've heard that before.
You can put, I already then posted the pictures. I would have brought the receipts, but, we just chopping it up. But the Statue of Liberty is Lucifer. You could type it into TikTok, and there's a couple of people doing the breakdown on it. The whole Luciferian agenda is a drag queen march across the land to conquer the matriarchal sacerdotal seats of power. By putting a man in the skirt does not change the quality of the seat. You can call him a mayor all you want. A mayor is always going to be a female, and a stallion going to always be a male. You do the math. They have us under the false pretense that the stallion is the female and the mayor is the male. That's why all of our town mothers used to be the mayors. When they met, it's called a Congress of Mayors. They still use the terms in reference to Mustangs out west when the females come together to prepare for the birthing season. Before the males come, they call it a Congress of Mayors, right? And then comes the stallions. When the stallions come, they fight. I want this flock, this Congress right here. Another use for the word Congress is sex, right? So they using our natural systems to rape us without our knowledge. They roofing us with false information. The town mother is the mayor, and the town mother is not selected by a vote. She's selected by birthright and recognition of the tribes in the town, right? And that's how we selected our mayors. The elections is the only control we have of politics is in local elections. That's election in the aldermen, city councilmen, depending on where you at. I forgot what they call them in the parishes, but they are all elected. Local government is the only actual true government on the land. Federal government is a fallacy. It's a fallacy, and it's based upon a corporate interim system occupying or pretending, masquerading de facto in law as the legitimate government agency, the dominant government agency, but they interim. That means they got a lifespan of how long they allowed to be here. You on mute?
Hold on, brother. What I want to get to right now is that I want to start talking about some other stuff because I've been hearing you talk about the aliens and stuff like that.
Which is one of my most, I hate talking about aliens and outer space, but I had to talk about it because
Yeah.
they here.
Well, there you go. And this is what I want to talk about. What do aliens look like? And what is the evidence that you have that say aliens have visited Earth? And have you ever seen or experienced a UFO sighting?
Okay, now let's break the question into parts because that's 3 questions in one.
Yes, go into it.
So what was the first part?
The first part was, what do aliens look like? And the second part is, do you have any evidence of aliens visiting Earth? Let's deal with them too.
Okay, aliens have varying different looks. The only proof is that it's a ship sitting right outside of Earth right now that the Pentagon is watching, that they've been reporting on since March. They said they're sending out lesser ships to do reconnaissance, and then there's nothing that they can do about it. That's the first piece of evidence. You can look it up, right? The As far as how they look, they have a varying different look depending on where they from. Because the code for the human is not the code for every sentient being. The only similarities most of us have that makes them anthropomorphize is the head, two arms, two legs, where you do got some that got 4 and 6 arms, and you do have some with 4 and 6 legs. But that's the exception to the rule. The general rule is for the sentient being, normally they come in with 2 arms and 2 legs and a head and a torso. So the general description in of an alien is anthropomorphized, but a lot of them look like me and you. Like we could be sitting here talking to one of them, and if he adapted to the language where he don't have an accent, you would never know he an alien. You would just think he's just another brother, right? They made a a movie about a brother from outer space. You remember that? The brother from outer space, because they wanted us to
Right, I
know
remember
that
that.
there is a sizable portion of them that's heavily melanated. Some of them melanin is so dark that it absorbs 10 times more light than the average person, and that's because of the deep space um, effect that it's having on them. And some of the suns set out so much radiation in the biological counter of most organisms to protect itself from massive amounts of radiation is to produce massive amounts of melanin as the response.
Have you yourself ever experienced the alien?
Um, yeah, but they normally talk to me telepathically and tell me they're there. I only seen a couple of beings that I know were aliens, and they was telepathically talking to me. One caught me in Walmart, gave me a book reference when I first came home. And then there was another one that I encountered at a mall where I was walking down the mall, and he was telepathically telling me, almost to me, you almost to me. And when I looked up, he said, "Oh, you found me." Right. So they don't look, those ones didn't look different than regular people, but they was from different places. But I don't tell people that stuff because I don't like to talk about space stuff because we have too many earth problems that we trying to escape from solving. We don't want to solve the problems where we at. We want to go somewhere else and take them problems with us and make that place as effed up as this place. But if we solve the problems where we at, we ain't got to worry about nobody from nowhere else.
Hmm.
That's how you spiritually protect it, by solving your problems. Because if you solving your problems, the energy field around you, source is saying, don't mess with this one. He's doing his work. You always hear about that in the hood, putting in work, right?
Yeah.
Some of us work don't look pretty, but it's
Right.
necessary for the effect that it's going to cause. So when we do certain stuff, it may not fit within the parameters of accepted norms. And we might even end up locked up for following our purpose and our path. And sometimes we just end up isolating ourselves because it's difficult to explain to undeveloped spiritual minds a developed spiritual concept.
Hmm. What is your view on the government stance regarding UFO sightings?
The government is 100% aware of what it is and who they is. They communicate with them. Dr. Strange wrote a book about when Eisenhower was visited by the Venusians, right? And that's when, back in the 40s, and they, after World War II, and they dropped the bomb, because that's what caused us to be put in what's called a light lock. Like it's a covenant. It's to lock us into the simulation, spiritually, but that's also to keep us from spreading like disease beyond our realm, all of the dirt dealing that the people been taught to do. None of it is normal. Even if we accept it as normal, it's still not normal to us as a species. It's been given to us by outsiders. And that's one of the easiest ways to heal yourself is to find the foreign nature of the characteristic you exhibiting so you know that it's not who you are. That's how you kill your ego.
Is the
Purification of the
government
ego in
telling
the
us the
occult.
truth? Is the government being
Hell
honest with
no.
us?
The government is never going to tell us the whole truth. They give us half truths, but more than anything, they talk in what's called double speak, coded talk. Like Donald J. Trump know exactly what an AK-47 is. Went on the news and he said I became a gun expert when they told me about the MK-47. That's a code. It's not a misspeak, double speak, right? And the code crackers are other heads of state has a code cracker. I'm the code cracker for Empress Rearburg, right?
Hmm.
She is the blood right descendant matriarch to call for to sit on the sacerdotal seat. And so when she went to Philadelphia, sat on the sacerdotal seat, she took back the tribal right, the political and social systems. So now what we about to see is the shift. But we first had to get to the part where, because I have to give her reporting. That's going to be live because I have to do it where all of the tribes across the land have equal access to the information. Whether they believe it or don't believe it is they're inconsequential to the fact that they had access to it by public notice. So the report that I got to give her is on the state of the war and with receipts.
Let me ask you this: these aliens that you have seen, that you have come in contact with, do they have any special powers? Should we be afraid of these aliens? What? Talk to me.
Look, you ever hear the story about the angels and then they fall on their face in fear in the presence of the angel? You don't
Mm-hmm.
gotta fear them unless you dirty,
Mm.
right? Unless you doing secret shit to hurt people behind the eyes of the unwitting public. You concealing your dirt and you doing nefarious things, knowing exactly what you're doing. The frequency is what's gonna tell you that you the one. Because when you're doing certain stuff, it shows in your frequency. They call it biorhythms. If you look up biorhythms, then what you do alters your biorhythm. If your natural biorhythm is to be in the heart chakra space